everybody, welcome. I'm Debbie Hernandez, Retail Sales Director for the West. Today I got a great, awesome guest with me, Lupe Acosta from Commonwealth. Today we're going to talk about women in insurance, our culture, Latinas, our journey, and how we made it to the top and we were trailblazers and breaking the glass ceiling. Let's get started. I know you. Give me a little bit about your background. Tell me some things about you.
Well, I am, born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm one of 7 kids. I have one younger brother, but I'm the youngest girl. Some of my siblings were still born in Mexico. My parents were both from Mexico. And so they came down here, obviously, better life for all of us. I always grew up really close to family, really close to all the relatives. We all stayed in the same community.
Right.
And, so that's kind of the childhood upbringing there. And then always working and helping the family out with all of us. My dad was the one who worked, so we all had our responsibilities to help out around the house and help out at, different things they would do. Like I was telling you, some of the things growing up is we always had to pitch in. So my sales career kind of started off as I was 8 years old selling oranges door to door with our parents. Yeah. And so my uncle used to be a truck driver, and he brought in a big box of oranges and bags, and my dad's like, all right, we'll get to work. We started bagging them up, me and my brothers, my 2 brothers, and we would jump in the back of his truck and drive down the street door to door selling oranges. And I think that's kind of where it all started, where he would say, this is what you need to say. You tell them they're fresh, they're sweet, they're cheap, whatever it is, and then we'd go door to door, and if they wanted to try him, we'd come back to him and he'd give us a little napkin full of oranges to take over there that he had cut up himself. And so that's really where I think understanding the sales process started for me.
That's awesome. When you think about that and you think of when you start selling and you don't realize that you're selling even at that age, and you look back and you say, wow, I already knew how to handle the value of the piece and what people wanted, what you could give them and how you delivered it. I always say word tracks. Everyone talks about word tracks, but isn't it funny? Even our parents give us, from the word go, even if they're not telling us, this is how you say it, they show us that word track and how do you defend yourself out in the public. That's pretty amazing, right?
Yep. And, I think selling isn't so much, people don't care what you need. People care what they need. And so to be able to get somebody to buy something from you is be really understanding what their needs are and what their wants are. It teaches you how you speak to people and how to connect with people, because that's really what it is, right? Being able to connect and understand others' needs.
And I 100% agree with you that. And I'll tell you, even with us, as we grew up and we didn't have the same luxuries of staying home and being those stay-at-home moms, we still rely on our children. Yes. Even to this day, we still believe in that it takes a village. And it's always in our culture. We see that you're going to see that we live by each other. We stay in the same community. And you do this because you have to have that support, because it's not easy to do. And how we see our parents did it, we'll never live up to it. I know I look at my mom. I love my dad, and my dad is always my hero. But when I look at my mom, she's the backbone, because she organizes everything.
Holds it all together.
Right? She's the glue. And you look at that, and sometimes the unsung hero, it's easy to get mad at your mom, but that's what you say, my mom does this, and it's family first.
Very much so.
That's the biggest thing, family first. Yeah. So transitioning to that, I got a question for you. I know my answer for me. So did insurance choose you, or did you choose insurance?
Insurance chose me. It kind of snatched me up. One day it was middle of the day, probably on a Wednesday afternoon, and I went in to pay my insurance. And I was 18 or 19 years old. And my agent asked me, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm just looking for a job right now. Just, wrapped up whatever. There was layoffs in the place I was working at. And she's like, well, how long you been looking? And I was like, it was literally Monday. Here it is Wednesday. She's like, all right, well, can you start on Monday? And I was like, oh, do you need my resume? She just laughed. She's like, I've known you forever. And so since I was, 16 years old, I've been coming in her agency, and it was a farmer's agent at the time. And I went in there, and I started off as a payment taker. Because I was bilingual, she needed my help. And so I went in there, and I was able to help her and did some translating. And funny enough is she was not a supportive person of my role to grow myself. I was like, I'd like to get more involved with the insurance side rather than just taking payments. And so I started studying on my own for the insurance exam. And she was not happy about it. She was like, no, you need to crawl. You can't, you need to crawl before you can walk. And I think I was there for about 6 months before I got licensed. And one of the farmers district managers called me and he's like, I can't bring you on board here because, the relationship there, but I've referred you out. And so I went out and I started off as a producer.
Okay.
Working straight commission for an agent. Man, that was rough. But, I think that was very, very real, very humbling. So going into an agency and, I got a great little space, but I had to go out and earn every single dollar, every single commission that I made. So I was pounding the pavement, going to door, local businesses, trying to work with car dealerships. Here I am, 20 years old, 9 o'clock at night, going down to a car dealership to write a policy. Back then, we couldn't do it online. So we had to get down there and get that paper signed because I don't think a lot of people realize the importance of insurance. They see these commercials of $35 a day or $35 a month, and they see the insurance as something they have to have, not as something they want to have or something that they need to have. It's been, I just want to be legal and that's it. And so for me, being able to learn more about the industry, get more involved, for me, it was being able to educate and explain to the people who didn't know any better, being able to explain to them why they want to keep their insurance on the books and why they don't just want the insurance card, because in the event that something happens, we're here to protect them. And I think that that's something that they lose a lot of sight of now. Walking into agencies, even now, I see it where you walk up to a counter like you're ordering fast food and you don't sit down at a desk and have a conversation with your agent. So I really enjoyed the aspect of being able to sit and spend time with people and educate them on what they were getting from insurance. And that's really how I fell in love with it. And, from there, I started off as an agent, a payment taker, then as an agent, and then going on, and I got brought on board with the new company to do marketing. And for me to be able to help train other people, and with the companies I've worked for, it's always been more of a non-standard market, but I get to work with a lot of Latina women who are first jobs, they're 18, 19 years old, and they're working in an agency and they're learning. And to be able to help and educate on helping them with their career in the future was always very enticing to me. So I walked in there and before I knew it, here it is 20 years later, and I'm still loving every day of it.
Right. That's fair. And I love that journey. That kind of mirrors, a lot of our journeys in the industry. But, I like to say sometimes we're unicorns when you look at, because when you see Latinas in the insurance industry, that's a rarity. And then moving them up into the industry and being in prominent roles, you don't see a lot of that. Are we coming? Of course we are. Yeah. My journey is similar to yours. Started it in high school. That was part of we had office administration, and part of half the day we would go to work as part of our grade. And I worked for Century 21 Insurance. I remember to the T, it was a local one there. And they taught me the insides and out. And I used a typewriter to type out insurance cards. Even to this day, I can even picture that and me just pecking that thing going, that's it. And I had the little red one and I did the little circle to say, okay, if you get an endorsement, this is how many days. And I calculated. So I learned from there. But to those owners, I was just an intern. I was there for that. Going down, I answered an ad. And despite being Hispanic, they hired me. And I started as an ISR, and it was in Texas. I could do everything, take payments. I just couldn't sell, get commissions. When I moved up, because they saw more people coming in, and I was a translator. I wasn't selling, but I was a translator. At that point, the owner was like, well, we're getting more customers that we normally don't because she sits in the front.
Yeah.
And when I went through the training as an agent, I can tell you the best trainers I had were the hardest that I'd ever been taught, because again, it was almost training me to break. So my first day walking in, I had no chair, and they said, you have to earn it. And the only way you can earn that chair is by selling something. And so you had your standard suit, right? We had our standard uniform. You had your black pants or your black dress with pantyhose, and you had to wear your heels and a blazer. And I didn't have a vehicle at that time. So I'm here barely making I was making just a small hourly at that point. Now I'm on all commission, and I'm tied to the store's commission. So I have a group of girls that their money's tied to me. So if I don't produce, they don't eat. And now they're seeing I'm coming in to take their money because they've added a fourth. And what value is she going to bring? Remember walking in, it's 10 o'clock. I still hadn't sold, so I get outside. And I just pound the pavement. And I'm going to businesses, trying to build that relationship. The same thing as you, making it happen. Unfortunately, I didn't sell anything that day. I was tired. I went, they picked me up, and I'm in tears. And my brother's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I didn't sell and I don't want to come back again. They were so mean to me. They didn't help me. They did all of that. And he's like, so you expect somebody to help you? There's a reality check with him. And he's like, so where can you go find this? Yeah. And it was that idea was the one thing that all of us in this industry needs to understand is you go back to home. And it doesn't mean you're going back to your home. You're going to the village that raised you.
Right.
And I went home to my neighborhood and I went next door and I went to talk. Okay, I'm going to start a new business. I need help. I need quotes. At least give me quotes so I can quote. And I went to my village. And all my Hispanic family members, all the Latinos that were in my neighborhood were calling me to give me a quote just to help me out. Just turned out that I was actually kind of good at what I did.
Yep.
And I sold. That was the last day and the only time I never sold anything. But I always walked in with names and numbers from the community.
Right.
But I had to go back to home and build what I came from. What do I know? Who's going to trust me? They already know me, right?
Yes.
So that's where my industry, it started and it picked it and it just kept moving forward even to this day.
Right.
Family members see me that way. They still see the mija. Oh, mija, we're right here. You're still there, mija? You're still selling insurance? Sure. Oh, yeah, I'm still there. I'm still there, Theo. But they always offer. And the best part is that they see the value is that I speak Spanish and that I can talk to them. And that agency is still there. In fact, we have a few. But that particular agency I started at is one of the ones that is under mine, that I built it from the ground up because we moved it. And at this point, there's still customers that I wrote a long time ago. Now I'm aging myself, really old, but they're still on the books. And every time is she here? And they'll say, I heard your voice and I see, and I look at them. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're not the mature couple. Now oh my goodness, you're older. And I don't realize how much, but they won't go anywhere else.
Right.
Because they trust.
They trust
me and building that. But despite being Hispanic, I got hired, but because of the value I brought to the table, being Hispanic and bringing in a different customer base has started and jump-started my career. And that's what's made it great. And I think your career is just about the same.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I think that you had that challenge, right, where people weren't helping you. And I think if we could help other women and other Hispanic women when the roles were we were never helped because I got put, hey, you're moving too fast, slow down. And, you had, hey, you got to do this on your own. If we can help others and be able to develop them more, how much sooner can they get here? And, at the same time, we kind of consider it, are we the people we are because of those challenges?
If you look at yourself now and where you're at, and a 18-year-old Lupe walks into one of yours to work for you, what would be the one advice that you would tell your 18-year-old self?
You're here for a reason, and you can do this. Take yourself seriously and continue to show the self-respect that you have. I think one of the issues that is very common for us, especially when we were that young, is that imposter syndrome.
Right.
Do I belong here? Yes, you do. And I think that would be the piece of advice is, go confidently in there, continue to learn, continue to grow, and, you belong here.
I like that. You put it very right. I mean, imposter syndrome is a very big and highly whether you're a female or male in our culture.
Yes.
We fly under the radar. As I say, we try to kind of blend in because knowledge is power. And sometimes when you don't know the language or you don't understand, you think you're an anomaly because, I'm a Mexicano. I don't know it. I don't understand it. But in this world, it isn't. Insurance is a hard industry to understand. And you can walk in, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't just the Latinos that came in that you had to educate. You had to explain that, and you had to give them knowledge. And I love you sharing that not only did you get the knowledge and the value, but you put it into action, and you showed your value to them, and they built that trust and the sincerity that comes. Because I can almost see you there selling me something when you were talking about that. I was like, okay, what am I buying? Here at Acceptance, our mission is we have a passion for helping hardworking people deal with life's uncertainties. How do you feel that this shows up and inspires you in work and in what you're doing now?
Here at Commonwealth, it's been a great journey. We started the company, they started the company 11, 12 years ago. And when I came in to interview for the role, I was working for a bigger competitor, and, they were just starting out. When I sat and talked to the group of men that are running the company, I was beyond impressed. I walked out of there and I called my husband. I'm like, this is where I want to be. We are definitely a majority company. A lot of us here speak Spanish. The owners are, Armenian. They're moved to California when they were kids. But when they decided, they were former agents themselves, when they started when they were 18 years old too. And so when you see the vision and the impact and the holistic view of it all, yeah, that's what excited me here. And here I am, 10, 11 years later, and we're really making strides to improve the insurance industry. Our tagline is the way insurance should be. And that's really what we look for. We know that we're selling a promise. And to our customers is they don't know what we had, they pay us and we give them this little piece of paper that says, here are your dates. But what are we really selling? And for us, we're selling a promise and that we're going to be there when you need us most. And I think that's kind of the goal that we have when I work with agents and I work with even consumers when we do some of the direct marketing, and is being able to show that this is our backyard and this is home and this is what we want to do. We're going to be here for the long run. And our role, what we want is to support our community and support our people. That's really, what enticed me to come on board with Commonwealth and what's kept me here all these years.
That's amazing, because it's almost similar to almost side by side of what you see with Acceptance. We feel that same way. We think of our stakeholders. Who's our stakeholders? It's not about the dollar. It's about our customers and as well as our team members. And life uncertainty happens to everybody. We just recently had it a couple of years ago. And how did we everybody was out there and we won with it, and we kept going, and our customers trusted us to have that promise.
Right.
When you look at sales agents, you can go sell a cell phone. You can sell, but it's the hardest thing to sell something that's not tangible and a promise. And they got to trust that you're going to be there when they need you the most.
Absolutely.
And that in the Hispanic community, the Latino community, when you see that, that's why they believe and go to consistently send everybody to where, because when they feel that trust and they feel that value that they have, they're going to send everybody there, because word of mouth is crucial.
You're absolutely right.
In our culture.
Yep. And there's a study, I think it shows something along the lines of, if you have a bad experience, or a great experience, I think you tell like 6 people. When there's a bad experience, it's like 20-something people that you share that with.
And that leads up to the vision that we have at Acceptance, and I know that Commonwealth shares something similar, is that to be the most trusted provider of insurance products our customers need for peace of mind today and in the future. How do you build that trust and peace of mind when it's non-tangible? How do you instill that and show that in our community, especially not just that, but you have to do it in Spanish, in a different language? It's a lot different.
It is. And, I think a lot of it is here, the support that we have for our staff is we have so many bilingual staff members in all departments, marketing side, the customer service side, the agent support side, the claim side. There's a bilingual everywhere. And we know that's important because majority of our business comes from our Hispanic community. And we want to make sure that they're well taken care of. And so we try to do things to make it easy for them, right? To trust us more. Things, when we've built this company and the website, when our owners did it, they did it with the customer in mind. They did it with the agent in mind, because they've been agents before and they've dealt with customers and understood the obstacles and the issues and the concerns that they have. So when we say we want a local company with claims adjusters that only work for Commonwealth, because we want to make sure they're taken care of properly. We want to make sure that our customer service team is there to help. Most companies don't take customer service calls. We do. We want to help our agent out. If you guys are busy and that phone is ringing and you can't get to it and your customer needs to get a hold of us, they can call us and we're going to be there to support them.
It humbles me sometimes about our companies, and especially mine, is that do what they say they're going to do.
Yes.
Inside and out. And, the leadership that we have has instilled that in us. And, I can believe in everything that I say and I do when I walk into a store, when I'm in front of customers, when I'm building a partnership. I know that relationships, we're doing what we say we're going to do because we believe in it, we live it. We're there to actually take care of our customers because that's what we do.
Right. Yeah, that helps you sleep at night.
Right.
Better. You sleep a lot better that way.
Yes, it does. 100%. They aren't worrying me. I always say, okay, don't worry me today. Okay, let me go to sleep. Another thing that's really strong about us is that promise statement, to make a difference in people's lives by offering the products they need with the service and the respect they deserve. How do you show that? How do you really show that respect to our customers, your employees? What do you do that differentiates differently from others?
We heavily instill in our staff and our team that this is not a policy number. This is a person. This is that single mom who just got her first apartment and was able to move out on her own with her kids and having to support that. We need to protect that dream. The 18-year-old kid who just moved out of his parents' house and bought his car and now is on his own policy. These are people behind our policies. And the premium that they come in is to make sure that we take care of them when they need it. And I think that's the key, is being able to understand that there's a person there and a story that comes with it. Every one of our insureds, my parents included, coming back when they came to Mexico, and I remember helping my dad out with his insurance when he was 16 years old, not having the support there and not having somebody that you can trust, that will train, having to have that conversation and explain coverages. That's something we've always instilled here. Like, this is what we want to make sure people know what they're getting. We want to know that they're safe. And I think that's it, being able to know that you're taken care of, you're secure here, you're safe here. And that's what we try to instill in all of our staff.
That promise really comes out, and we were laughing last night, but it's really true because I thought about it. It got me a little bit nostalgic when I think about it, when even to this day, I take my grandmother somewhere, or my daughters take my grandmother somewhere to talk for her because she still doesn't speak English, correct? And you don't want them to be taken advantage of.
That's the key there, is being able to take the time to understand someone else's needs and not just assume, As when I was an agent, I had a customer come in one day really upset, and he asked me for a quote. And he was upset. He said he was at another agency down the street. He was in his work boots. He was just got off work. He was dusty. He was working construction, and he was really upset that they wouldn't help him, that they laughed at him and had him waiting for 30 minutes in the lobby, that they wouldn't help him. I still remember he came into my office, and I was like, well, let's see what we can do for you. And I started quoting him at the time, with the company I was at. They if you didn't have proof prior, you didn't get to be insured there. Well, this man had been insured for years and years. And he still had minimum limits and liability only. And he had gotten over new trucks. And he's like, I've been at this agency for so long. He goes, but I hate going in there because every time I go in there, they treat me poorly. And so with that being said, I remember quoting him, and I told him, listen, this is what we have for you. This is what you're paying now. But I think you should, and taking the time to understand the limits of what his insurance is. And then next thing you know, we're insuring his home, we're insuring his autos, we're insuring his house and his business. All those opportunities and all that coverage he didn't have because nobody took the time to get to know him and understand the needs that he had. And I think that's key, is being able to have a conversation with your insured and understand, what are you going through in your life? Because I can help, right? I can help with that. If you just bought a new house, awesome. Let's get your home insured. Make sure you're protected. You have a new baby? You know what? We should probably consider some life insurance for you. And being able to understand the needs and the changes of our customers.
What you did right there was something that we're very proud of at Acceptance, is our service vision. We take care of each other, whether it's our customer or it's our team member, our business partner. We were just talking just now about taking care of not just our customers, but taking care of our community as well. And integrity ties in that, So how and what does it mean to you to be taking care of somebody, but at the same time using integrity, having that? What does that mean to you?
For us, for me, it's everything. The people around us, treating people right. The culture that we have here at Commonwealth is very much that way, is how can I be helpful? How can I make it better? And, that's one of the things that our team members here, we joke, but we're required to do some reading. And one of the books that I have everybody read is QBQ. The question behind the question is, how can I make this better? How can I impact her? What impact do I have? And you don't get to choose every customer, and you don't get to choose every agency that, you work with. But to be able to treat people right is a choice.
And think about my father and how he struggled. And not that he couldn't speak English, but he had a 6th grade education because there was 12 of them. And he was the oldest, and he had to go in the fields to go pick cotton and working the lavotas to help
Right.
his family. And so he doesn't read great, and he didn't do a lot of things and spell great. He could do numbers, but if he didn't know the numbers that he needed to add, he'd get taken advantage all the time.
Absolutely.
And that scared me, is that when you look at what do I do now, how do I help my team, is that I go back to my foundation and go back to looking at that as you've got to do the right thing regardless of what it's cost, because there's a cost and a price that comes about.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So what's the price, but what's it going to cost me in the long?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely is. And, we carry that through here with all of our team. And the great thing is it does come from the top. Our owners are the same way. It's let's do what's right. This doesn't seem right. If it doesn't sit well with you, if you don't feel good about it, then you need to revisit it. And that's really it. And, oftentimes it's funny. I use this a lot in my agencies when I was a rep, and I'd be out there visiting agents, and they would tell me about the company they were writing with, and they're like, I don't really like them, but they're the lowest rate. I tell them, would you put your mom with them? Would you write your mom's insurance policy with that company? And oftentimes I'd get the laughing and no. It's like, then why would you even bother selling it? How give your customers the option? Because your mom's probably looking for a good deal too. She doesn't want to pay a lot for insurance, but you would take care of her. So you should do the same for all of your insurance. And I think that's key, is being able to do what's right, not just what you think they might want, not what you think is better for the company or for it's about the people. It really is. It's about people.
I had a vehicle and I was driving. My parents were following me with my daughters, and they were like 2 cars down, and somebody hit me from behind. She had totally lost, and there was somebody in the front before me, and I had a little sports car, and it crumpled it. Everything. My daughters were behind and saw everything. At this point, they were 6 and 7 years old. My parents are seeing it, and at that point, I call my agent. I'm like, I just had an accident. I said, they've already called the police. 20 minutes later, she shows up.
Yeah.
And she's at that accident. She's like, oh my God, your daughters are crying. And they were standing there because mom got hurt. And I remember her, Rhonda, being right there. She's still my agent, and she's there, consoling my daughters while I'm talking to the police and everything like that. And she's like, we got this. Don't worry about it. She goes, it's not your fault. She's like, I'm going to take care of this for you. She goes, I've got you. You go take care of your family, take care of your daughters. And that right there showed me what kind of insurance agent I wanted to be. Bryce, because she showed me what it meant to be valued. She didn't look at anything else. She just looked at who Debbie was.
Right. And I think, especially, you have one person training, another person training inside these offices, you lose that. You lose the reason why you're here. Yeah, everybody wants a job. Everybody wants to collect a paycheck. We all want to provide for our families. But why this role? Why this job? Why this position? And the reality is, I want them all to know, remind them that you are responsible for someone's livelihood. You can make or break someone's life. You can make that decision and be the hero, or you can be, oh man, that was that guy who ripped me off. And being able to understand the impact that your role has as an agent is, I think, something that we're lacking these days. I think you walk in and people see themselves as payment takers and CSRs, that I'm just here to take an order. And instead of taking that time to really make a difference.
Where do you see the insurance industry going? In your opinion, where do you see the insurance going in the next year, 2 years, 5 years?
This industry has been around for hundreds of years, and it's going to be around for hundreds more. It's a great industry. It's a stable industry. Right now, we're seeing unprecedented times. Right now we don't have the cost of gasoline, the cost of repairs, the times that cars are sitting at shops because we don't have the parts. We're waiting on parts. Unfortunately, right now, things are difficult. And they're difficult for all insurance companies. And as a consumer, you're just like, I haven't had an accident. Why is my insurance going up? So it's unfortunate, but we're going to need to continue. Everybody has to have insurance. We all have to have it. It's going to be here. I see online guys coming up, and it's a good business. A lot of people want to market to the customers online because everybody has a smartphone and everybody knows how to use a computer, and it's just there. Everybody has an email address. It's very easy to do. However, as we stated before, insurance is a complicated thing. And when a customer goes onto the website to go get a quote for themselves and they see the rate, they're like, is this right? And more often than not, when we have a customer quote directly on our website, or even our partner agents who have websites that are typically, you combine there, most of the time that customer picks up the phone at the end and makes that phone call to help. Because people don't know, and they want the help. They want to understand insurance. They want to know that they're going to be taken care of. And so with the insurance industry, what I see right now is these rates are probably going to continue this year. Hopefully starting to taper off mid-year to the end of the year. And we've seen, severity is at an all-time high right now. And it's because we're paying so much for all these claims. We're paying so much on rental cars because now it's taking longer to repair vehicles. So it's a domino effect. And unfortunately, it comes down to the consumers that they have to pay. They're going to pay for that, whether you've had an accident or not. It's a law of large numbers. And I'm hoping that over the next couple of years, we'll start to see things taper off a little bit. But we're going to be around, and insurance is necessary.
So, Lupe, I don't know if you know about, you've heard a little bit about it. You've seen us in the stores. You see everybody's having our logos that have Empower Her. So what this is our ERG group that is Empower Her. They come from different types of backgrounds. We all got committees going and everything just to actually do exactly that, support and empower and lift females and lift each other. And it's not about just the females. It's all about also, we have male sponsors that are just, in fact, probably our loudest cheerleaders in our company. So that's something that we have in Acceptance that is actually ties into our mission, our vision, our statement, our promise, and our service vision of taking care of each other.
That's incredible. And that's really good to hear. Again, we talked about women in leadership before, and it doesn't necessarily mean a title.
Right.
Women can be leaders, and we want them. We have that experience. And to be able to share that and be able to bring other women in, especially in our industry, there's so many young women there that could use a coach, that could use a helping hand, that can use someone to help develop them. And I think that's key, is development. So that's an incredible resource that you all have.
Well, thank you. And I will say that this last meeting that we had, when you say that the young females coming in and these young employees that are coming to be leaders, when you look at that, they talked about mentors and mentees. What's that? What works for you? How do you get past your saboteur syndrome? How do you get past imposter syndrome? How do you help? This ERG group really is about that. It's about supporting each other. And I think that that's something that you and I both didn't see when we grew up and we were growing up into the industry. And now seeing that for the difference, and then the young female executives coming in and then leaders that are coming in, they can see, I do belong here and I can do this. That's the best part about this.
That's awesome. I thought that insurance was a male-dominated industry. We pulled up statistics, and it's about 60% women. However, most women are working in the clerical and claims area, as far as, and not as many as in sales or definitely not in management.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of where we lose that. You earn that seat at the table, and a lot of women maybe try to avoid it, or they don't feel they deserve it, right? They don't feel they deserve it. And I think with Empower is being able to take to women that you do belong here. We all have our doubts. We all have questions as to whether or not we belong here. Am I doing this right? But being able to be confident in your knowledge and your ability is going to be key.
I agree with you. The other thing I would add with that would be invest in yourself. We're so busy investing in others, developing in others, and we forget the one person that is doing it, and that's invest in yourself, empower yourself. You don't need anybody to empower you. Empower yourself. Show them, invest in yourself, and be true to you. You do not have to act or be or think like a male. You are Debbie, you are Lupe, you are any female coming in. You bring something that's totally different from what other people bring. Instead of looking at it as a male, female type thing, you look at it as an individual that is sitting at this table and has something to bring, perspective, opinion, views, but be, like you said, confident, but stay true to you and invest in yourself, because you have to take care of you to make it go forward.
Yep, absolutely. And there's no doubt about that, for sure.
So, Lupe, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this talk today. You know what? I learned so much from you. I appreciate everything all the tidbits you shared with me, everything the knowledge that you gave me. I feel like I'm ready to fight the world just hearing some of your stories.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute complete honor. And it's something that I really believe in and that I really want to help educate and help not only women, but, our culture, our people in the Hispanic community. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
No, you're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope to see you soon. Stay tuned for more tidbits coming soon.